Eden was not destroyed. It was sealed. And there is a forbidden book that reveals how and why we lost it. What you're about to discover may change the way you view existence. Stay until the end to understand humanity's true exile. For centuries, the story of Adam and Eve has been packaged as an exemplary myth, a moral tale with a beginning, punishment, and redemption. But no one mentioned that the story was incomplete, edited, polished to fit the mold of imposed obedience. Because another account exists, an uncomfortable one, an excluded manuscript that was never meant to be read, according to those who decide what is sacred and what must be forgotten. That text speaks of the true condemnation, not expulsion, not toil, not physical pain, but something far worse, spiritual disconnection, the total blackout of consciousness. The lost book of Adam and Eve is not a minor footnote or a forgettable appendix. It is a dark mirror reflecting humanity's real exile, the forgetting of its essence. This was not a divine punishment for disobeying an order, but the beginning of an era of vibrational subjugation. Adam and Eve did not merely fall from Eden. They were cast into a lower, densified plane where light is no longer clearly perceived, where decisions are contaminated, where the divine feels distant, foreign, useless. After the expulsion, redemption did not come. Manipulation did. In these texts, Satan is not a metaphor or a poetic figure. He is an active entity, a real agent of control who relentlessly pursued the first humans, trying to strip them even of the desire to live. The trap was perfect, convincing them that death would restore their access to paradise. But there was no return, only more darkness, more illusion. The punishment was not a serpent. It was a prison, a confinement system disguised as life, where each cycle of birth and death is a repetition without memory, a wheel spinning eternally, designed to ensure the essential is never questioned, who we truly are and why we exist in this plane saturated with distraction, fear, and noise. The official narrative never spoke of portals, overlapping dimensions, or vibrations. But this book does, and that made it dangerous. In that altered world, Adam and Eve ceased to be beings connected to the whole. They became dense, opaque, malleable. Matter turned into a cage, consciousness into a hostage. And since then, humanity has carried this wound. Unaware, it bleeds. It lives with eyes open but sight blinded, filled with anxiety, not knowing why, chasing promises of salvation that never arrive, because they're misdirected. Eden was not destroyed. It was hidden, not by external forces, but by an internal shift. The vibrational descent is not an esoteric concept. It is the fall of perception. What was once direct light is now diffuse shadow. The reality we inhabit is not the punishment. It is the deception, a construct designed to keep human consciousness bound to the evident, the material, the immediate. The intelligence idolized today is not wisdom. It is programming. The lost book of Adam and Eve does not seek to teach morality. It does not peddle redemption or sell forgiveness. It is an uncomfortable document because it reveals a burning truth. Humanity was severed from its source, and that disconnection was no accident. It was induced, a spiritual operation to keep a species dormant, one that in its original state was free, powerful, and luminous. Satan does not appear as an anecdotal figure. He is shown as a constant operator, changing form, strategy, voice, promising, deceiving, manipulating, offering what was already lost, but under conditions that deepen the prison. He is the administrator of an illusory reality, controlling through fear, desire, and mental noise. He needs no whips, only distraction. The book does not speak of sin. It speaks of disconnection, of how original light was replaced by density, of how humanity went from vibrating in unity to fragmenting into millions of contradictory thoughts. What was lost was not a garden. It was the memory of the essential. The fall was not an event. It was the beginning of a routine of forgetting. The ancient apocryphal texts are not primitive superstitions. They are warnings, maps, records of an internal battle still raging within every human being. Because the hell they describe is not a final punishment. It is this world, lived without awareness. The anxiety, the void, the constant noise are not symptoms of modern life. They are evidence of a structural spiritual disconnection. Adam and Eve were the first to feel it. They were isolated, not just physically but dimensionally, and in this new plane nothing was familiar. Not time, not the body, not language. Everything hurt, everything weighed. But even in that exile there were flashes, signs, fragments of truth hidden in the darkness. The promise was not salvation. It was a reminder. A spark still remains unextinguished. That spark, silent but alive, is the only thing keeping the possibility of return open. Not a physical return, but an internal ascent. Paradise is not reclaimed by walking toward it. It is awakened from within. When consciousness reaches a certain vibration, it shatters the invisible bars. Then reality transforms, not because the world has changed, but because it is no longer viewed from the same place. The lost book of Adam and Eve does not offer a clear path. There are no formulas, no shortcuts. It speaks of practices, processes, internal confrontations where every choice is an affirmation or a betrayal of the original light. Prayer, meditation, fasting, silence, not as religious acts but as tools to purge the mind of interference. Because the noise does not only come from outside, it also lives in automatic thoughts, mechanical reactions, and the urgency to consume and distract. The modern world operates as a sophisticated prison. It needs no bars. It uses screens, speed, dopamine, and fear. It holds attention captive, warps desire, feeds the ego, and weakens the spirit. The control matrix imposes no visible punishments. It offers cheap pleasures, immediate rewards that numb the search. Everything that distracts from awakening is part of the system. Everything that unsettles, that resists understanding, that hurts without reason, points to the crack where light could enter. In the forgotten accounts, Adam and Eve do not resign themselves. They suffer, yes, but they fight. They search. They persist. The exile fractures them, but does not kill them spiritually. They cling to the promise that not all is lost. They realize the material world is not the end. That density is a veil, and only by piercing it can they reclaim what they were. That message is the one they tried to silence, because an awakened humanity is ungovernable. It does not produce from fear. It does not obey mindlessly. It does not consume to fill voids. The true battle is not outside. It does not depend on governments, religions, or technologies. It is fought in the intimacy of every consciousness. In the moment, someone chooses to observe reality with different eyes. When they stop repeating and start remembering, the body may be confined, but consciousness, once freed, transforms everything around it. Because there is no prison more perfect than the one accepted as normal, and no awakening more powerful than one that shatters normality at its root. The lost book of Adam and Eve is not a threat. It is a warning. It offers no comfort, only clarity. And that clarity at first burns, because it strips everything bare. But it also liberates. It deactivates the deception. It invites us to see the world we inhabit with raw honesty, and to remember, without illusions, without dogma, that within each of us still burns the possibility of reconnection. The fall was not the end. It was the beginning of the long road back. Eden did not vanish. It was hidden, and its secret remains locked within forbidden pages. If this journey changed how you see existence, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and watch the next videos on this channel.